Good evening and welcome to our preview edition of Bits and Pieces, New York City. Here we chat with New Yorkers and get a sense of who they are, what they do, and something about their New York experience. So please stay tuned. This is Bits and Pieces, New York City. All right. Welcome aboard, Cloyette. All right. We're here with Cloyette Harris-Stoute. She's the founder of the Guyanese Girls Rock movement. And Claudette is going to tell us about Guyanese Girls Rock and something about herself. Um, Claudette, let's begin with what you've become known for, the Guyanese Girls Rock Foundation and movement. Uh, Tell us how that got started. We'll go more into detail as we drift later on, but just give us a quick idea of what Guyana Girls Rock is.
Sure thing, sure. And first off, I want to thank you so much for having me on this platform. So, the Guyanese Girls Rock movement, it's made up of a few different platforms. We have Guyanese Girls Rock, the blog, Guyanese Girls Rock Foundation is a nonprofit, and then we have the Guyanese Girls Rock movement group on Facebook. So Guyanese Girls Rock started back in 2012. I started it as a Facebook, just a Facebook page. That was back in 2012 when most people were starting to blog. I had moved from New York to Florida, and after the recession, my family we ended up moving back. And coming back to New York, I realized that I was a bit disconnected from the Guyanese community. So I wanted to, as I mentioned before, a lot of people were blogging. So I wanted to do something, to relating to Guyana. I looked on Facebook and I see a lot of people had groups and pages, but I wanted to do something specifically with Guyanese women. So I started out just making posts on Facebook, researching online, famous Guyanese women, and just adding a photo and just a paragraph or two about these women. And it started building traction, and people were making comments. So, oh, I don't know this person was Guyanese. Oh, I don't know she was Guyanese. And it started to build a following. And I was like, I'm onto something here. So my background is in IT. So I decided to create a website, which I actually built myself. And I launched the Guyanese Girls Rock blog. And from that platform, I would do more detailed stories. I did interviews, reach out. I started researching more Guyanese women who were doing amazing things in the Guyanese community here in New York and, globally, Canada, the UK, Guyana, wherever they are. I would research it, and people start tagging me or sending me information about Guyanese women who are doing a lot. I did the blog, and as I said, it started growing and growing. And 5 years later, we had a nice following, and I decided to, what else can I do with this platform? What else can I do? And I always wanted to work with young women. So I launched the Guyanese Girls Rock Foundation at the end of 2017 and established the Young Women's Leadership Academy for high school girls of Guyanese heritage here in New York. So that's the gist of what, the Guyanese Girls Rock movement is about. There are two major platforms. It's the blog platform and a nonprofit platform. And, we're all over social media. With two different websites. Guyanese Girls Rock.com is the blog platform, and GuyaneseGirlsRock.org is the nonprofit platform.
Okay, so we're gonna delve deeper into that later on.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that quick synopsis. So let's delve into the New York experience. Off the bat, if you were to name 5 things that you like about New York City or living in New York City, what would those 5 things be?
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, it's the city that never sleeps. So you can go out and do anything at any time. You can go and because I've lived in other states. I've lived in Florida briefly, and one of the things that you couldn't do, it's after a certain hour, things are not open.
Okay.
The Caribbean community here, it's the vibe. It's we have a lot of fellow Guyanese living here, or the Caribbean people living here. The food, the culture. So you can find a culture here. You can still maintain that Caribbean culture here in New York that you wouldn't have in other states. It's a fast-paced place. New York City, even though sometimes living in New York, we take things for granted and don't enjoy a lot of the things that you can find in New York City itself, Manhattan. Tourists come from all over the world to enjoy that. And sometimes we take it for granted. The beauty of it all, the excitement, the fast pace of it.
Okay, when you talk about the excitement of New York,
Mhm.
that can mean many things and many different things to different people. So when
Yes.
Cloyette talks about the excitement of New York, what
Oh
is
my God.
she talking about?
Um, uh, just look, there's I don't know how to explain it. There's just this vibe of a New York that, first of all, um, it's built up from people who haven't lived here in New York City. There's always excitement of wanting to be in New York City. If you leave New York City and you go to other states, and people find out you're from New York, there's this excitement about, oh, you're from New York, and you know wanting to know more about it. Oh, I've never visited New York, I want to be there. um, so New York has this, I don't know how to explain it, but there's this vibe about it, the people. I think it's because of, all of the different cultures of people who are here, that lives in this city, all the different foods and what you don't find elsewhere. Caribbean people from all across the globe living here in this melting pot of New York City. So, having that all in this one place, you can leave and you can go and you can get. Let's talk about the foods, right? Or think about when you have the different carnivals. You have the West Indian Day Parade. You have the Puerto Rican Day Parade. Think about the foods. You can leave. You can go and get Caribbean food. You can get Spanish food. All of that put together. You can't find that elsewhere. you know, you
Absolutely.
can't find all of that in one place.
Right,
When
right.
compared to other states, you can't find all of that in one place.
Okay, I definitely would agree with you there.
Hmm.
So, talking about New York, um, can you recall what was going through your mind, even before when you realize, okay, I'm going to be coming to the U.S. for the first time,
Hmm.
right? Um, what were you hoping to find? What were you hoping to see? Even before you landed here.
Well, one of the things you always wanted to see before you get here is the snow. You want it, right? You coming from Guyana where it's hot, there's always this fascination with snow because we've never seen that before, right? Um, I did not grow when I grew up in Guyana, we did not have a television, okay, at that time. So most of what I saw about New York is from magazines and books, magazines, or when somebody comes home from New York and you get you know, that vibe from them and the accent, right? But one of the things that I wanted to see more, I would have to say, is the snow and and the people and and the trains, right? The subway. You hear about the subways from back home, and you know that and the foods, you know, the foods. Um, having, some of you had a little taste of it if you get a barrel or something that comes from New York, but you look forward to all of that, the food and, you know, and just being a part of that, the accent and the smells and all that. You look forward to all of that.
Okay. Was there one thing that you were expecting to see that you never really did see, from your experience in Guyana, from dealing with the barrels and the stuff that would have come when you actually reached New York, was there something that you really were look forward to and then, it just wasn't there?
Um, there were some things that I don't know if it's something I was looking for, but there's some discoveries, and you always had, well, I had, and most people, you have, I think you expect more from New York. You have this glamour about it, right? This glamour that you see, as I said, in magazines. When you look in a magazine, you see women who are dressed up all the time, or the photo, it's always glamorous, but when you come and you get the reality of it, you realize that there's places that, um, you know, the trash, certain parts of New York, and um, you see people who, they're not all glamorous all the time. You see homelessness. You see, it's a bit of a rude awakening when you experience certain, when you really get settled and you start seeing that it's not um, all that glamorous that you expected. There's a lot of nice things. There's a lot of things that we don't have. We didn't have in Guyana, but yet there's a little dark side of it that you weren't expecting. You didn't think about or didn't picture that. Um, but
What what can you recall about your very first day or first week in New York City?
um, when I came here at first, I came here, I had a 3-year-old, right? I had a young son at that time. I remember my mom, when I came to my brothers were here. Had to stay behind a little bit longer because I had a young son at the time. And so my brothers came before me, and I came to Queens, and I came in March. So it was cold, and I remember leaving the airport. And as we're driving out of the airport, we passed by the parking lot, the airport parking lot. And there was so many cars in there. It was a long-term parking, and there was so many cars there. I hadn't seen that before. And so many cars on the street, that was really fascinating to me to see all those cars parked in one place, and um And we came to my mom's house. My mom had her own house at that time, and just there's this smell. There's a different. It wasn't a bad smell, but there's something in the air that smells different when you're here in New York. Everything smells different. The food, and my mom had cooked all of that. But I have to say, if you ask about the first thing that fascinated me even before I got to the house, was seeing all these cars. We didn't own a car back then, right? We didn't have a car, and seeing so many cars on the highway, that was fascinating.
Were you one of these folks who, some of us when we come here, during that first week or first month or so, we actually begin to yearn about, we want to go back home. We start missing home, it's like, I don't think I want to stay here. Were you one of those people?
No. I'll tell you why. My family were all here, right? My mom was here. I lost my dad a few years earlier before I came here. My mom was here and my brothers were here. I was the only one left there. So, it was exciting for me. I really wanted to be here. I wanted to be with my family. So I had that longing to get here. And within the first week, you asked about the first week, I remember my mom giving me, because my mom worked and my brothers were still in high school at that time, and my mom giving me the train map. Right, she bought me a copy of the map and told me, to familiarize myself with it. Just this is what I'm going to be using to get around. So to get to learn about this train map. But yeah, I didn't have that longing of wanting to go back. No.
Okay, great to hear. Okay, folks, you tuned into Bits and Pieces of New York City. We'll be back with you in a moment. Okay, we're back with Bits and Pieces, New York City, and our special guest this evening is Cloyette Harris-Stoute, the founder of Guyanese Girls Rock. Now, you mentioned earlier that you lived out the state
Mhm.
for a little while, and then when you returned to New York, you felt a kind of disconnection with the Guyanese community. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I had moved to Florida. My family, we had moved to Florida in 2005, and the recession hit in 2008, and it affected us, my family. So, my husband lost his job, and he wanted to come back. He's in New York. He liked it here. So he didn't quite settle in Florida anyway. So, when that happened, it was an opportunity for him to come back. And we ended up moving back to New York. So, living in Florida for those 3 years, we lived in Tampa Bay, and it was a little bit remote. Wesley Chapel, it was a new development. And we just move on a whim. and there was, we didn't have any friends and family there, and so we missed that connection, that family connection and the New York connection. You asked a little bit earlier about what makes New York different and what it is. One of the things that we experienced there, for instance, in the summertime, we have our barbecues, and we get together. Well, because of COVID-19, on any given day you can hear loud music, and that's something that we didn't experience there. It was always quiet. By 6 o'clock, everybody's went in, right? So yeah, so we end up, not spending a lot of time by ourselves, because we didn't have that, in that area. There wasn't a lot of, it's predominantly white. There wasn't a lot of Caribbean people living there. You would have to go to somewhere like Orlando or Fort Lauderdale for that. So we missed that. So, coming back, and having to, at that time, getting on social media, and you see certain things and you realize that, I'm not a part of that. Right? I want to be a part of my culture and my people. And so I didn't see anything that quite fit, or I feel that I fit with. So I decided to start my own. So yeah, so that feeling came from me being away from people that look like me, right? First and foremost. So I said it was a predominantly white neighborhood, and just missing that Caribbean connection, that Guyanese Caribbean connection. Even the foods, there was not, you would have to go drive a couple of miles to even find food or find ingredients, that are like Caribbean. That's where we were in Florida. So yeah, there was that longing, or that when I get back, to reconnect to that.
Now, when you were born in Guyana,
Yes.
where in Guyana were you born?
I was born, my parents are from the West Bank, Good Fortune. And my father was in the military. He was in the military, so he moved the family to Georgetown to be closer to the base in Georgetown. So we lived in Kitty, from a baby until I was like 10 or 11. We lived in Kitty, and then we moved to. I grew up. I spent most of my teenage years on the East Coast. Melanie Damish. Well, actually, Bachelor's Adventure, right opposite to Melanie Damishana, where that housing scheme was. Hmm.
Okay. And back home, where you lived in the city, you had a bit of the country life.
Hmm.
Which did you prefer, living in Georgetown or being up on the East Coast?
I would say being up on the East Coast, for the simple reason that I don't have much. I have some memory here and there of, when I was living in Georgetown, like going to primary school when I started there. And but I think I enjoy. I lived for most of my teenage years on the East Coast, and we had our own home. My father had built our house. So it was the first time, we lived in our home. When we were living in Kitty, we were renting, and so I had my own room, and we had our own house. And yeah, so and I had my friends, and so that experience, I would say, was more enjoyable for me, and I enjoyed most of the time, when we lived on the East Coast. And living out of the city, you enjoy a lot of the perks that the Georgetown people don't enjoy. We have the space, you have the fruits and all those things, that the space to run outside and enjoy that country life, and we weren't that far away from Georgetown, that you can come back or drive back. But yeah, living up in the country was more enjoyable. Yeah, I have some good memories of living, you know
So
up.
were you one of those young children who climbed trees and so on?
I I did some, but not much. My brothers did. I was a very girly girl. So, I mean, as the only girl, my father had five boys. I was the only girl with five brothers. So I spent a lot of time with my mom. I have to thank her for that. Dressing up and doing girl stuff. I read a lot when I was growing up, and I spent a lot of time, with myself because my brothers were all. I have two older brothers who from my father had a previous marriage, so they lived outside the home, but they would come during the holiday time. And then I have my three brothers were younger than me, so they basically left me alone. Right? They left me alone to do my girly stuff. So I didn't climb a lot of trees and stuff. But I enjoy a lot of the outdoors, and we had a lot of fruit trees and stuff like that. And my cousins, they live still live over the river. So when I go over there during the holiday time, we run outside, we do the bush cook stuff. So I enjoy some of those things. I did a lot of that.
Okay. And what were your favorite foods in Guyana prior to coming to New York, and how much did your culinary taste change after coming to New York? Or do you still like the traditional Guyanese foods?
Yeah, my favorite foods. It would have to be the things that we eat at special occasions. you know, when they cook, the chow mein. I really like. I really like. I have to say that. Let me say chow mein because I still like it today, right? They call it lao mein here. I mean, what we call chow mein. So I like that a lot when I was growing up. So yeah, I still eat that. I still like my some of my traditional Guyanese food I cook. It's always good to go back to that. And it's a mixture of the American food. What I eat more of, I can say, is seafood. I like seafood, and I remember growing up in Guyana, seafood was more expensive than getting like chicken or that meat, that kind of stuff. Used to spend more for the. No, it's the opposite. I'm saying it was, seafood wasn't as expensive as it is here now, right? Seafood is very expensive, but I do like seafood. I do like fish, a lot of fish and shrimp and those types of things. But yeah, I still indulge in my traditional Guyanese food. Once in a while, I still like to do that. I
Right,
think
right.
we have there's something about our foods that you grow up on that food that are tasty and well seasoned. It's hard to move away from that, even though I have to watch my salt intake. But yeah, I would always enjoy my Guyanese dishes.
Guyanese Girls Rock. How did the name come about?
Well, I have to give credit to there's a movement called Black Girls Rock, right? And I so that's where I got the inspiration for Guyanese Girls Rock, and it has a nice ring, and I think we do rock, right? So I figure, why not do something similar? Because I really enjoy that movement. Celebrates Black women, right? It celebrates Black women. It celebrates their Black culture, and so I was inspired by that movement to create Guyanese Girls Rock, so we can, celebrate our women. And I'm gonna tell you, I had an experience once. I was flying back from Florida to New York once on a plane, and I was sitting next to a white guy, and we struck up a conversation, and we were talking. I told him I was from Guyana, and he said to me, he was surprised. He said, he thought that Guyana only had Indian people living there. He said he didn't know Guyana had Black folks living there, like Black people living there. So in doing Guyanese Girls Rock, I felt it was a good way as well to show to show the world, you know, the different races of Guyanese women, or if you look, I mean, if you go to our blog and you look at the Guyanese women on there, you see all different shades, color, races. It I feel it's also a way to teach people, right? Like the gentleman that I met, the guy I met on the plane, that it's not just one type of people living there. And not only that, we have different races of people there, we have some amazing women who come out of Guyana that are doing exceptional or doing great things across the globe. So it was a great way to showcase that, to showcase some of the talents, the beauty of our women, and the different variety of women that we have in Guyana.
Okay, great. Now, let's talk a little bit about the term. Uh, if someone was to ask you, a Guyanese girl, describe a typical Guyanese girl or Guyanese woman. How would you respond to that? What makes them distinct? What distinguishes the Guyanese woman or the Guyanese girl?
Well, I think I just, in what distinguished the Guyanese girl? I We are, let me see. I'm trying to put this nicely. What distinguished the Guyanese girl from, listen, we are strong, we're resilient women, we're beautiful. We come in different variations, like I just mentioned. And we're talented. I can go on and, and on and on. I don't think there's one thing. I don't think there's one thing that can distinguish a Guyanese woman. What I know for sure, what I know, and is that people are sometimes surprised when they find out that someone is Guyanese, right? Um, we're accomplished, you know, we're smart and accomplished, and I think they say Guyanese people are everywhere, so we can adjust and adapt and be successful. And you know, when it comes to the Guyanese woman who leaves Guyana, right? Usually, when the family leaves Guyana, it's usually the Guyanese woman who takes the lead. It's usually the Guyanese woman who goes out and do multiple jobs and work hard. It's usually the Guyanese woman most times who migrates first and work and sends for her family, right? Most time is the woman, the Guyanese woman, who does that. She comes out here, she works, and she sends. She leads the family in the household, or or pushing the family towards success. So there are a number of things that makes us outstanding as women. But in my experience with Guyanese Girls Rock, a lot of times when I do a story, or I publish something, I get responses like, "Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know she was Guyanese." There's always that surprise, like, I didn't know. That's just to show that there's so much that we can do that people underestimate the talents, or the power of a Guyanese woman, because we've left Guyana and we've done amazing things. And even to the women who are back, who's still there, they're doing amazing things.
Okay, now I've got a slightly tricky question for you. have you found that the Guyanese guy, the Guyanese fellow, the Guyanese man, um, in your experience, do we share what you've seen in that Guyanese Girls Rock? Do you believe the men of Guyana believe that Guyanese Girls Rock?
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, a lot of men support the brand, and yeah, they support the brand, they support the movement. I even have men in the group. I think so too. I see Guyanese men celebrate Guyanese women all the time. Whether it's on social media, if they're doing something. Yeah, I think so. In my experience, and I'm sure a lot of women out there can attest to that. I think the Guyanese women, the Guyanese men, from what I've seen and experienced, they're proud of the Guyanese women, and they celebrate us as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. Now you were talking about your favorite foods.
Mhm.
You talked a little about liking seafood, that you eat a lot of seafood.
Mhm.
Now we know when you say seafood, what you're talking about. It's your lobster, your salmon, etc., etc.
Yeah,
Now,
I get my Bangameri and stuff too. I have
yeah,
little. I'm in Queens. I have little Guyana right here, so I
right
do.
there,
I
right?
get my butterfish and Bangameri and things.
Okay. What about saltfish?
Yes,
Are
yes,
you
yes.
a lover of saltfish?
Of course, of course. They call it codfish here, but we call it sawfish. Yes, of course. Yes, sir.
Hmm.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna talk more about that. We're gonna listen to a few people from Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago talk about their love and how they do their saltfish, and
Okay.
then we'll be back.
Okay.
I know in some cultures they boil the saltfish, but we don't.
Okay.
We just soak it in.
Would that be your experience too, Etessa?
Well, actually, I do both. I soak it and I just boil it just a little bit. And I also add the ingredients, as my aunt said, the tomatoes, onions, and I've first time hearing about the scallions. I know some people do put sweet peppers in there, so I guess it's a matter of personal choice.
Well, what I do normally in preparing saltfish is I soak it overnight.
For the entire night?
Yeah, for the night, yes. Takes out most of the salt from it. And then it, moisten it, reconstitute it back to its almost original version before it gets dry. And you wash it out, put it in some boiling water for a few minutes, 5-6 minutes. I throw away that water, drain it out, put fresh water, boil it for the second time.
Throw more cold water upon it, wash off the salt off of it. Then put up your onion and your scallion and your sweet pepper or whatever and season it up. And you put it in a frying pan with the oil. Not too much oil. If you put too much oil in, too much oil secure, you know, if you eat too much oil. So you put in there and fry up the scallion and everything. Put your saltfish in there, mix it up. And then cover it down, turn your fire low. Then put your ackee in a saltfish and everything and stir it up. Cover it down, make it simmer down. For another 15 minutes. And then your ackee and saltfish ready. Sweet.
So how do you like your saltfish, Cloyette?
Here's the thing, because I'm hearing that, okay, some people soak it, some people boil it. Growing up, we soak it overnight to get the salt out. But here it's a matter of time. It's like, we don't if you want it right, you want it. You don't have time to soak it overnight. So I do boil mine. I would wash off the salt, some of the salt, because I have to watch my salt intake, and I would boil it. I boil it because that's the quick way to do it. So, boil it, and then, I fry it up, some tomatoes, onions, and garlic and stuff like that. So that's how I little scallion. And that's how I enjoy my saltfish. Yes. But I boil.
Okay, and what's your preferred side? Do you like if it roti? Do you like if it dal and rice with eggs?
No,
What's your
no. Man,
or,
I
or
haven't
John
eaten
Provision
dollar
as
rice in a long
you
time. Now you're gonna make me want to go make some of that. But usually I would have it with like bakes. I make sometime, but look, I'm in the heart. I'm in Queens. They're all that Guyanese food is, so we can quickly go out and get some float bakes to buy. You know, my husband would pick up the bakes, and now I would make the saltfish. So yeah, I enjoy it with the bakes, the float bakes. Yes.
Okay, great. All right. We're going to talk about. I think in 2018 you started a special awards show and
Yes.
luncheon for
Yes.
Guyanese Girls Rock.
Yes.
All right. So we're gonna just look at a few photos from that from your last event, which was in 2019, and then we're gonna come back and you're gonna talk about that.
Sure.
Yes, right. Tell us about the GGR awards.
Yes.
How did it come about, and um, give us a little background into like some of the types of some of the Guyanese women who have received these awards.
Okay, so the Guyanese Girls Rock Awards, it was just a way to celebrate some of these women who have accomplished a lot and great things in the Guyanese community, just to celebrate them. So I wanted to create this platform to do that. So yes, you mentioned before we started in 2018, and most of the honorees were either women who I featured on the blog. So I'd already done research on them and featured their stories and was aware of the work that they were doing in their communities, and not just awarding women for you know getting a certain place in their careers. You also look to see what they're doing to give back to the community, or what else they're doing. So we started out in 2018. We honored 10 women, 10 Guyanese women. Not necessarily, they weren't all Guyanese born, but of Guyanese heritage as well. From different career paths, some were business owners, doctors, lawyers, teachers, whatever they're doing in their community that warranted being, celebrating, showcasing. I just want to highlight that on this platform. And it was also because the Young Women's Leadership Academy that was launched in the beginning of 2018 as well. It's a leadership development program for high school girls of Guyanese heritage here in the New York metro area. So the girls are coming in grades 9 to 12, right? They join the program in high school. But if once they get to the 12th grade, or if they're in 12th grade and they're graduating high school, they're graduating out of the program as well. It's a 2-hour program. And the first hour, we teach them a leadership development course. And the second hour, we brought in some of those same women, right? Some of those same professional women from the Guyanese community to do workshops and, mentoring and talk to them. So, and once the girl, as I said, when she gets to the 12th grade, she's graduating out of the program. She's eligible to apply for one of 2 scholarships that we offer: a merit scholarship of $1,000. And if the young woman is pursuing pursuing a degree in the technology field, she is eligible to get a laptop. $1,000. My background is in technology, so I wanted to honor that through a scholarship. So the awards, not only did we honor these women from the Guyanese community, it's also at the same time we graduate our girls from the program, and we give out the scholarships as well. So it's also a way to raise awareness, in the community of what we're doing, what the foundation is doing. And so I felt that we deserve that. Other cultures do that. Other cultures celebrate their own. So why not? Guyanese Girls Rock Awards. So, that was the whole concept behind that award. So we were able to do it for 2 years before COVID-19. And this year we couldn't because of the pandemic, but we were still able to, what we did in space of that was to honor 60 essential workers. We had an essential, we call it Essentially You Award. We partner with some of the elected officials in the Queens community and Brooklyn. And we give citations, and we got some really nice gift items and, donated to 60 women, some of them. We open it up to the community because we recognize that in a pandemic, it's not, we open it up to other women, not just Guyanese women, because, the nurses or the doctors, whatever, postal workers, they're serving our community. They're serving all communities. So, I didn't think it was appropriate to limit it to just Guyanese women. So we opened that up, and we included some women from different communities as well, and did that gift back for 2020. So we'll see what happened going forward, when we'll be able to have that again.
Okay, and the issue of COVID, we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Mhm.
We're going to hear a little now from another member of our Queens community about stuff that they're doing with regard to the fight against COVID, and then we'll talk some more.
Okay.
Well, Alliance has been doing a tremendous amount of work to date, starting, if I recall right, April. I think I have it. I have to look for the exact date. But the first project we did when all this this whole pandemic started was at Jamaica Hospital. We did a lunch for the nurses, about 300 nurses. We did about 300 individually wrapped lunches, and it was an experience because that was the first time we were going out, and we weren't going into the hospital. We're just meeting people. The doctors will come out and get everything, but it was the first time we're going out. And all these nurses and doctors are making hundreds of thousands of dollars. They can afford it to buy lunch, but by us giving it to them and they're saying thank you, you could see their eyes, tears come out their eyes, because all the cafeteria were closed. All the restaurants around the hospital is closed. You can't get a meal anywhere. And they're working 12, 16, 18-hour shifts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, but, we've been with this, roughly about 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Can you recall the moment last year when you realized, hey, this is serious,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This is going to change our lives. Can you remember? Can you recall what would have happened? What you would have seen or heard?
Okay, so what happened is that my son, he called from school. He called and says, "Mom." Well, prior to that, we were hearing, my husband was in Guyana at the time, and he was in Guyana, and you're hearing bits and pieces about it on the news. And then I remember the National Guard, there was a lot of talk about Westchester County, right? Westchester County, that the COVID-19, there's a lot of cases in Westchester County. And then the National Guard is out there. And, so, and then my son called and says, "Mom, you have to come get me. They're closing the colleges down." He was at school in Albany. So my husband is in Guyana, so I had to drive to go pick him up. So I think when he called me, I went up there the following day. He's like, they're telling us to just go home. You can leave your stuff, but just pack up. You have to leave the campus. So I drove up to Albany, pack him up. It's a good thing I followed my mind, because he wanted to leave his stuff behind. I was like, no, let's just pack up everything because we don't know if you're going to come back. So we packed him up. I packed him up and I brought him back. And the Saturday, I think that was the Thursday. He called me Wednesday. I went up there to Thursday. That Saturday, we had our program, our leadership program. We were at that time, prior to COVID-19, we were at the library, the Queens Central Library. That's where we met. And we had our program that morning. And the afternoon, we were going to take the girls to a play at York College. It was Ingrid Griffith. She's actually Guyanese. She was doing, I think, Shirley Chisholm. She was doing that play in Shirley. And we were going to take the girls to that. And during sometime between after that program, I think the show started like 6:00. The governor announced, I saw it on Twitter, that the government announced a lockdown, that we're going to be, I don't think he announced a lockdown, but he was saying to not go out, to stay at home. And and then a parent called me. It's like, the governor is saying that we should stay at home and not to go out and do anything. So we cancel that trip to the show. And I at that point I knew, I think sometime during that week, we went into full lockdown. It's like, this is serious. This is a serious business. My husband barely made it back in. He came in that Sunday. That Sunday, I think around the Wednesday or sometime during that week, we went into lockdown. They start shutting down everything. Yeah.
Okay. Now, looking ahead, because we have the vaccine, but there's no clear end in sight. What do you see Guyanese Girls Rock Foundation and the movement doing this, maybe, let's say, in the next year or two? Most likely the COVID will be with us for that.
Yeah.
What do you see?
Yeah. Well, for now, we just started 2021, the Young Women's Leadership Academy. Yesterday was our second. We meet twice a month. So we moved, after that happened, after the pandemic hit, we transitioned from the classroom to a virtual platform. We thank God we were able to do that seamlessly. We were just able to move, set up Zoom, and then had the girls connect. So we were able to complete our program, virtually, and we just started again 2 Saturdays ago. So we run from January to June. So most likely we're going to complete this year again. I really don't know what, I don't see us having an event where we're going to be, the awards, where we held it at a place with that many people. Maybe we'll consider doing something virtually. That's open to that. We have planned for the month of March to do another give back. Like Romeo said earlier, I know him. He lives in Queens as well. That giving back to the is giving back to people at this time, I think that's what's needed. Instead of having a celebration of or an award, I think it's appropriate now because people are hurting and people are in need. And even, the healthcare workers, as he said, they may be making a lot of money or whatever, but, they still need to be appreciated or feel appreciated. And people are hurting in terms of, people have lost their jobs and people need food items. So we're planning a gift back for our essential worker give back. We got some items from the campaign against hunger. So we're going to be doing something similar in March to give back to the community. So if we're going to do anything in terms of an award, so we'll probably do it on a smaller scale. I don't think it's appropriate now to be having any kind of big celebration, and you can't even so we're still social distancing. I'm grateful that we're still able to continue, because some programs have had to stop, if you weren't able to pivot from the classroom to a virtual platform. So I'm grateful that we were able to do that, and because we were able to move from the classroom, we had more young women sign up for the program this year, because it's easily accessible to them. So I think that's what we're going to be doing for, the rest of the year. We did do some volunteering as well, but, on a smaller scale. So we'll have to watch and see, what happens as more people get the vaccine, if things will open up a little bit more and we'll be able to connect on a more personal basis and do more things that are not virtual. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Now, tell us a little bit about because I know you have people around you who've been helping you, assisting you with
Yes.
Guyanese Girls Rock. Tell us a little bit about the other people who
Yes, most
at the core
definitely.
of the organization.
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. Yeah, we have some great. The thing is, I've never, maybe just for a few, had to reach out to people to help or say, I want you to join. I want you to help with this. People are constantly, they will go online and fill out a volunteer form or ask, how can they help? So I think it's and this is what I hear from people. This is the feedback that we get from people that, they especially people outside of Guyana, there's not this space or this platform where you have, Guyanese women that's dedicated. There's a lot of organizations out there that are dedicated to Guyana, some amazing organizations that are doing great things, but this is specifically for Guyanese women and girls. So people, they want to help. So, but, we have a great, number of volunteers and board members, some of our current board members right now, and these are all Guyanese women or of Guyanese heritage. We have Miss Rhonda Binder, who was one of our board members, and she was just named the deputy Queensborough president. So, we have, I wanted to, I wanted our girls to be exposed to women who not only look like them or have something in common, because most of the girls are born here, have something in common with their parents, or women who they can aspire to be like, right? Our program director for the Leadership Academy, Dr. Kayomi Gregory, she's a college professor. She's a professor at Pace University. We have Junan George. I'm giving him a shout out. Annie Mohan, she's another one of our board members. And we just have a new board member, Melinda Ramhit. So those are our board members, but we have a lot of amazing volunteers. And I'm grateful to, our workshops, every session that we have, we have a different person that comes in and give a workshop for an hour and talk about, different topics, whether it's life skill or share their story or leave the girl with some lesson. And these are all Guyanese women, professional women. We had our volunteer from yesterday, a young woman who is studying civil engineering, and she's still in college. So, we bring in, even students, college students, to come in and talk about different topics. We have volunteers who just want to help out, whether it's an event. We have Miss Tracy Kahn. She just came on board. She used to be a news anchor in Guyana, and she's helping us with some of our media, our media representative. So we have people, we have women, we have Tandy. I don't want to forget anybody's name because there's so many, but I appreciate them all. Everybody brings something different or some little bit of talent, but they all want, the point I'm trying to make is that they all want to help. So what can I do to help? How can I help, or how can I be a part of this movement of helping to inspire, other Guyanese women, but to inspire our young women as well. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been really interesting having you. Real nice talking to you. Could
So much.
we close with you telling our audience where online they can find information, or where they can find the blog? Where do they have to go?
Yes. So, so as I mentioned before, there's Guyanese Girls Rock and there's Guyanese Girls Rock Foundation. I like to make that clear because sometimes people look for one and they find the other. So GuyaneseGirlsRock.com is the blog. So if you go to that platform, you'll see all the stories of the different of Guyanese women and the amazing things that they're doing. So that's GuyaneseGirlsRock.com. So on Facebook, there's Guyanese Girls Rock, that page. And on Instagram, there's GT Girls Rock, right? At GT Girls Rock. And on Twitter, it's GT Girls Rock. So that's the Guyanese Girls Rock blog platform. So the foundation is a nonprofit that has the leadership program for the young girls. That's GuyaneseGirlsRock.org. And on Facebook, again, it's Guyanese Girls Rock Foundation. And we're on Instagram, GGR Foundation, and Twitter, GGR Foundation. So the difference is one is the foundation, right? So Guyanese Girls Rock and Guyanese Girls Rock Foundation. So that's how you differentiate the two. And when you look at the content that we share on these two platforms, you'll see the difference. And then there's Guyanese Girls Rock Movement. That's a group, a Facebook group. When you asked earlier about the men, the men feel that Guyanese Girls Rock, we have a number of men who are part of that group. And so that's a space where people can, join that group and they can share and interact and make connections, things that you can't, you're not able to do on a page per se. But in that group space, you can make connection with other Guyanese people, Guyanese women, or talk about, it's the same concept, celebrating, sharing something positive, or, or if that's a space where other Guyanese people can contribute to that group, they would share things about Guyanese women who are rocking. Guyanese women who are rocking across the globe, and it's a true statement when they say Guyanese people are everywhere. We're everywhere. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Cloyette, for agreeing to come on board with us this evening. I'd like to thank Terence, Connie, Rennie, and all the other viewers who've been with us. And we hope to see you again. We'll be back from Wednesday for our regular program. This is Bits and Pieces of New York City. Thanks again, Cloyette.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. And I'm going to close. I always close by saying to the listeners out there, always remember you're more than enough and you were born to rock. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Take care now.
Take care now. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.